our fireside chat. And hopefully I should be joined now by Mark from the University of Glasgow. Are you there, Mark?
Hello, Tessa. Can you hear me and see
Hello,
me?
how are you?
Very well, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm delighted to be able to chat to you. It's been a long time, so I'm really looking forward to our session today. So just for our audience benefit, this is a kind of first of the chat that I'm going to have today with Mark from the University of Glasgow. And Mark's going to chat to us today really about culture changes from cross-department working and relationships. And this is a really good opportunity for you to ask any questions. You can just post them in the console, and Mark or I will answer those for you. I think probably, Mark, before we go straight into questions, do you think you could just spend a couple of minutes just kind of summarising the University of Glasgow, the service desk, just to put some of the questions into context and the responses? Is that okay?
Sure, Tessa.
Perfect.
Glasgow, 4 colleges plus our university services, so structure quite similar to other areas. We've got, I think it's 28 to 32,000 students, something like that, 9,000 staff. So, fairly sizable. Like St Andrews, we have a lot of old buildings, and we've been around for not a few years shorter than them, but not too much. 1451. So we have some baggage, I suppose. I shouldn't say that in a
some history, should we say?
Public. Yes, history. That's the word. That's the word I was looking for.
It's a good word.
Yes, yeah, but that will also frame that as Mark and Bethany were saying, that people have been used to doing a lot of things in certain ways for quite a long time, and the last 18 months have given us all a shake to do something differently. So yeah, so structure-wise, the service desk, we have 4 full-time staff, believe it or not, for all of that. Our student desk is slightly separate in that we have 14 students who we employ as staff, but they're not slave labour or anything. It's we do pay them. So they work that on a rota. So it's a service provided for students by students. So that's kind of how we're structured. But that's mostly walk up, based in our library, which thankfully has been open since August last year. We've been able to deliver a face-to-face service.
Okay, so thank you very much. That's really good, because it just kind of helps put some of the questions and answers into context. So this is obviously about collaboration, working together, cultural changes, cross-department working relationships, all those brilliant things. So I think my first question would be, Mark, if that's okay, over the last kind of 18, 20 months or so, has cross-department working improved within the university?
Short answer to that is definitely yes. And even I think looking inter-department working or internal, teams who even within the same directorate or department who traditionally kept to themselves, the siloed behaviour that we all talk about. Yeah. There's been an improvement in that. I've definitely, I've seen that not just in IT, in our HR department, colleagues. Again, looking at our structure, we have the 4 colleges which tend to have their own IT function, their own HR function, their own finance function, etc. And quite a big piece of work that we did across the 18 months was with HR. We've been on an enterprise service management journey for a while, and that fits, obviously brilliantly with cross-department working. That you get the opportunity to learn from each other and to come together on one platform. So yeah, very much. If there's been a benefit of the last 18 months, it has been, I think, even in some cases, perceived barriers,
Okay.
or, you know, have come down. People who didn't talk to each other even when they were in offices across the corridor from each other were obviously much more connected now than we ever were. Some may say we're too connected now. That, you know, there is a downside, I suppose, to too many connections, and, you know, sort of bookending Zoom and team calls and whatever, that you know, say people are, it's just too easy to get a hold of you now.
Yeah. And I suppose so. You talked very much there about kind of you've got the 4 colleges, you know, HR, IT, finance, all kind of slightly separate. And you mentioned that you're kind of heading towards that kind of ESM route where you're going to potentially bring everything together. How far down the road are you with that in terms of converging all of that support?
We're very, I mean, in terms of you might see over my shoulder, I don't know whether it's back to front, but, you know, in terms of bringing departments together on the one platform as a starting piece, you know, some of them can be, you know, they need to live in a watertight compartment, and that's fine, but for others, we do get that collaboration, and that's, you know, IT, campus security, and that's our, you know, our physical security, the you know, patrolling the campus sort of idea, HR, finance, data protection, complaints handling, you name it, we've brought them all together. But you know, the technology is just the starting point. They then, and I think, you know, from Bethany and Mark's presentation there, that a lot of it rang true with me, that you do get your, well, it's worked for this particular department and they do something quite similar to you, so can we use you as an exemplar there to come along, and you know, it's not just me saying it, it's someone who had real problems that we've been able to fix for them, and here's, you know, here's how it worked for them, and you also, you spot opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely.
In other areas, you know, that they weren't aware that you were able to do a certain thing, and you bring that to them. You know, it's the same, you know, for all of us over the past 18 months, that we have challenged, and it's important that we keep on challenging the way we do things and the way we have done things. You know, some things we've had to change because either legislation says we can't do it now, or we can't do it the way we used to be able to do it. But for a lot of things, you now question, why did we ever do it that way?
Yeah. And was that collaboration, you know, across the HR finance, was that driven through you guys in kind of IT and service management, or was it driven by somebody else?
Will I take all the credit for this? Yes, I will. The university has been working on a transformation program for a while, so it's, you know, I think that the planets aligned at the right time, you know, is probably the best way of putting it, that we've been moving on this journey for quite a while, you know, a good few years, and as I say, university looking at transformation in general. Okay, well, let's make sure we're hitched to the same wagon here, rather than, you know, going off and doing different things. So that very much is, you know, we have been the driver for it. And to be fair, we haven't had to sell it too hard.
Okay.
You know, the word gets out. You know, I've got enough work to keep us going, you know, for the next year without any trouble. In terms of, and that's just people saying, oh, well, I was talking to such and such, and they were telling us about the improvements you've helped them with. Can we have a piece of this? And it's, you know, but it makes it easier as well. You know, for once you've done something once, or you've fixed something once for one department, it's, you know, you're not starting from scratch again with others, and it is that, can we, you know, it's the ITIL start where you are. So I think, you know, we've got something that works here. Can it work for you as well? Rather than let's go all the way back to nothing and then try and build out the ground from there.
And what do you think, so far through this digital transformation journey, what do you think the benefits have been to the university, to the faculty, to the students? How do you think it's played out for their point of view in terms of how you deliver a brilliant experience to everybody?
So from a staff, almost from a business to business point of view, looking at it that way, the self-service side of things, and again, Mark and Bethany talking about that earlier, we've obviously had to go in that direction, and thankfully we were going in that direction anyway. We've had to go to virtual delivery of teaching, etc. We were going in that direction anyway. We've had to go to Teams, etc. for meetings. We were going in that direction anyway. So we were in a good place to improve there. But that is that has been part of the journey, is that universities are complex places. So why should you expect a student to have to know how the university is structured, to be able to consume services, to report an issue with something, just to find out what they're entitled to? That's wrong. And that was part of the journey we were going on with. Have a common portal for everything. It isn't that you need to go and find, where does registry hide this particular form, or cut out and keep Word documents, as I call them, that put it all in a searchable portal, get all your knowledge in a searchable portal, and just, that's where people need to go. But they don't need to know who, certainly not initially, which department or section they're under provides that service. So I think that has been of all the benefits, it has been making it easier for people to get to what they need, and especially given that we are all, the expectation has been certainly that we would, you will do things virtually or online that you perhaps did, you walked up to before.
Yes, and how are you finding that mix? Because I think you mentioned that the library services were back open in kind of August last year, and they're managed by, that's managed by the students, isn't it, for the students? How are you finding that mix of kind of face-to-face walk-in plus the virtual experience?
It's working well for us. I mean, the government advice has always, the bulk of staff are still working from home or are starting to make that hybrid move to a day or two coming in. But from a student point of view, students have been here all through it, and it's been it's been difficult for the staff as well as as our customers to make the adjustment. But we've provided the face-to-face service, and at short notice it's had to go virtual because the government says after midnight tonight you're now not allowed to do it, and then at quite short notice you're allowed to do it, but then what they said you were allowed to do changes slightly as well. So it has been very, that's been the difficult part. And but like with so many things in life over the last 18 months, that it's been a moving target. But we've done it. Customer satisfaction has stayed up in the 90s throughout that, and that's I've got to thank the staff very much for keeping it there. It's been as in I think we'll all see people have gone above and beyond throughout the past 18 months to keep us there.
And I suppose for universities that are looking to unify their services and follow the ESM kind of route, what would be the one piece of advice you would give to them if they haven't started out on their journey, or if they are very shortly, or if they're very new into their journey, should I say?
Well, going back to that collaboration piece, it's it's going to talk to people who have made a success of it, and get some ideas. But as a takeaway, I always say from what are the top 5, 10, 15, 20 things people ask you about? And there's the start of your knowledge base. What are the top 5, 10, 15, 20 things people ask you for? There's your request offerings. And what are the top 5, 10, 15, 20 things people report to you as not working well? There's your start of your incident management. And that works across HR, it works across campus security. You know, what's the difference between a jammed printer and a smashed window or a blocked toilet? It's something that needs to be categorized, managed through a life cycle, and that's what we're good at, and that's where it is definitely, it's a transferable skill to your colleagues in other departments.
Yeah, and I think that's where, you know, IT really has the ability, doesn't it, to shine and to become that trusted advisor. As you say, those things all need to be catalogued, they're all an incident, they all need managing, and that's where you can really use the best practice that we have in IT service management to support the rest of the organisation. And, you know, it's actually really, really brilliant to see that happening. What's next for you guys at University of Glasgow? What does the next year look like?
A lot more of you know, of where we've been going. The listening earlier, and it's something that I'd written down earlier before this, is that the service desk has, because everything has become virtual or online now, the IT service desk has become much more in focus and seems to be the go-to place for anything. You know, the amount of things that are coming through now that we never, you know, if you'd asked me 18 months ago, would we be supporting 24-hour online exams, I would have given you a very strange look. But, you know,
it's now become the norm,
so there will be more of that, but there is also, you know, we will do a lot more of looking for opportunities to, you know, to re-engineer old bad ways of doing stuff. The desk will expand, is definitely, and our online presence is going to expand in that, you know, say more request offerings, much more knowledge, a greater focus on the self-help and shift left. You know, it has proved to be. I mean, Hannah spoke earlier about, you know, you can make it difficult for people to do something and try and change their behaviour that way. But where we've kind of been going is, again, the path of least resistance. If we make it easier for you rather than, you know, we give you more carrot than stick,
yes.
You will, you know, we will help change behaviour, and, you know, and that's, again, even within the resolver teams, the teams who traditionally quite liked in second line and third line pressing a particular button 50 times a day have, you know, throughout lockdown, I think there's been a bit of a light bulb moment for them that, you know what, we could automate this, we could shift left.
Yeah. And,
you know, I've got better things to be doing with my time than pressing that button 50 times a day. So an appetite for that. So that, you know, we will be doing so much of that over the next year that I won't have time to do anything else.
And actually, one of the things you talked about just then was in terms of what's happening next is around kind of the team expansion and the service desk growing. And just interested really to ask you about kind of skills and skills development. Do you see you looking for a different skill set now going forward into kind of 2022 and beyond?
I think we have.
At all?
Yeah, yes. Although I think, you know, again, we probably were going in that. If I think back to our student desk interviewing 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, I would say we were looking for more of a technical bias than a customer service softer skills bias, whereas we're definitely moving, and this probably has accelerated it, that it's more you can teach someone technical skills, but if they're a miserable soul, then, you know, it's harder to make them a cheery, customer focused kind of person. So I think, focusing on the and nurturing the softer side, the customer experience side of it is definitely where we go. So we can generally teach you the nuts and bolts, but looking for people who they may have worked in in a coffee shop, they may have worked wherever, but they're people.
Yes, it goes back to kind of Hannah's comment around experience is contagious, isn't it? You want somebody that's able to really deliver that kind of contagious experience. So that's fabulous. Well, I think that brings those questions to a close, Mark. So that was the last question that we had for you. Thank you very much for joining us today. It's been really, really lovely to talk to you and just to hear about the developments at University of Glasgow. And I think I look forward to hearing kind of what the next 12 months brings. So perhaps we'll have this conversation again in 12 months' time. So thank you very much, Mark. And you take care, and we very much look forward to seeing you at an SDI event very soon.
Thanks, Tessa. Cheers.
Thanks, Mark. Take care. Bye-bye. Our next speaker of the day, Kate Carrington, IT Service Desk Manager at Manchester Metropolitan University. Kate will be sharing how Manchester Met Service Desk has worked together during and post the COVID-19 pandemic to support the team's mental health and well-being.